We're also implementing measures to expand the Livelihood Empowerment Against Poverty program under our Big Leap initiative. As we work towards completing the Ghana National Household Data Census by this year, 2025, we'll reassess the status of LEAP beneficiary households to facilitate the enrollment of new beneficiaries. Mr. Speaker, we are committed to enhancing the legal framework surrounding disability rights by passing the Persons with Disability Amendment Bill. Additionally, we will introduce a legislative instrument to strengthen further the provisions of the Persons with Disability Act, Act 715 of 2006. We reiterate our commitment to ensuring that individuals with disability have access to free tertiary education and equal opportunities to pursue their academic and professional ambitions. Mr. Speaker, the government intends to ensure the implementation of legislation that enjoins public and private employers to reserve 5% of their employment for persons with disabilities. I am aware that a private member was shepherding this bill. Government is going to support that motion in order that 5% Ghana's sports sector, once again, which was a shining example of excellence within Africa, now finds itself at a very critical juncture. Historically, our nation has been celebrated and has had remarkable achievements in boxing, football, and athletics. Unfortunately, this is no longer the case. However, recent years have unveiled depressing structural deficiencies in administration, funding, infrastructure, and talent development. Immediate and comprehensive reforms are imperative to reclaim our rightful place on the global sports stage. Mr. Speaker, we will develop a comprehensive national sports policy to align with international norms. This policy will be accompanied by an exhaustive review of the Sports Act of 2016, that is Act 934, and the rigorous enforcement of the Sports Regulations 2023 LI 2477. Existing national stadia, completing youth resource centers, and constructing new sports facilities in the new regions. We'll also prioritize community recreational facilities to foster greater participation in sports at the grassroots level. Recognizing the critical role of youth development, we're implementing a significant overhaul of grassroots sports with the establishment of the School Sports Authority. This body will oversee structured inter-school competitions and talent identification initiatives essential for nurturing future sporting champions. Over 60% of Ghana's elite athletes have emerged from these school sport programs. The ministry has now been renamed the Ministry of Sports and Recreation. To acknowledge the significance of recreation, we will launch a National Recreation Day. This will be a monthly initiative centered on community engagement alongside an annual National Recreation Festival. These initiatives will encourage keep fit activities and promote active lifestyles. It will promote traditional games and strengthen community bonds. Next month, the senior national team, the Black Stars, which is now a pale shadow of its former glory, will play 2 World Cup qualifying matches. I've instructed my office and the Minister for Sports and Recreation to hold the Ghana Football Association accountable to the people of Ghana as we prepare for these games, especially regarding the budget of the FA. There will be no secrecy in how much the government spends on the national teams. The budgets presented by the FA and other sports associations must be known by the public. After all, it is the taxpayers' funds that are used to fund these activities. The reduction in government expenditure and waste reduction applies to all sectors of the economy, including the Ministry of Sports and Recreation. Mr. Speaker, tourism, culture, and creative arts remain vital cornerstones of our national development strategy, playing a significant role in job creation, cultural exchange, and economic growth. In recent years, the ministry has launched transformative initiatives to position Ghana as a premier global destination, and this is positive. These positive initiatives aim to harness the country's rich cultural heritage, natural beauty, and our dynamic creative sector. Our flagship initiative, the Black Star Experience, aims to establish Ghana as the gateway to Africa for the global diaspora, featuring thoughtfully curated cultural, historic, and creative arts experiences in collaboration with the private sector, diplomatic missions, ministries, departments, and agencies. Our aim is to position the Black Star Experience as a uniquely Ghanaian tourism brand. The Pan-African Month will be a part of the Black Star Experience. It will include street carnivals, a film week, a fashion festival, a food fair, theatrical and drama performances, concert party competitions, and monthly domestic tourism destinations. We will strategically promote meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibition tourism to diversify our tourism offerings. Ghana's peaceful and democratic environment positions us as an attractive hub for international summits, business conventions, and high-profile gatherings. We must capitalize on this unique advantage to maximize our benefits and strengthen our reputation as the country that is closest to the center of the area around it as a tourist attraction. It will have a pedestrian precinct with arts and craft markets, jewelry, and gold markets. This approximate 22-acre land will become a destination for tourism. Mr. Speaker, our road network is the cornerstone of our nation's infrastructure, facilitating over 90% of the transportation of goods and services across this country. This vital network is critical in supporting agricultural growth by linking farmers to markets, lowering transportation costs, and ensuring quicker access to essential supplies and services. The resulting interconnected benefits foster a vibrant economy and enhance the livelihood of countless of our citizens. Mr. Speaker, while the previous government has made lofty claims about achieving unprecedented milestones in the road sector, available evidence does not support its assertion that it constructed over 13,000 kilometers of new roads. Instead, it has perpetuated a narrative that presents road maintenance and rehabilitation efforts as new construction projects, misleading the public about what has been achieved. The proportion of poor roads has increased, especially in urban centers, where the number of roads in disrepair surged from 46% in 2015 to almost 60% by 2021. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, our road sector is in crisis, mainly due to years of mismanagement. As many as 85% of awarded contracts in the road sector have stalled, and the contractors have stopped work due to non-payment, and most of them have packed their equipment off-site. Mr. Speaker, as of December 2024, unpaid bills owed to contractors in the sector exceeded 20 billion Ghana cedis for work that had been carried out between 2018 and 2024. For instance, the Ghana Road Fund obtained a loan of 600 million Ghana cedis in March 2018 to refinance outstanding debts and borrowed an additional 1.2 billion Ghana cedis from a syndication of banks in November 2019. Alarmingly, upon assuming office, up the road fund in order that it can accumulate more money to pay for road maintenance. Mr. Speaker, we will minimize sole source procurement to encourage competition, competitive bidding, and enhance public transparency in the procurement processes. Mr. Speaker, the drip equipment, which was acquired at the last moment as a knee-jerk reaction for electioneering purposes, will be reorganized into regional mobile maintenance units to provide emergency road works in the regions. Mr. Speaker, I've realigned the Ministry of Transport to oversee 4 modes of transportation: aviation, maritime, inland water transport, road transport, and railways. The government will commission a feasibility study to develop coastal water transport services. This initiative aims to promote alternative modes of transport and ensure their integration into our existing systems under the National Transport Policy. It also aims to enhance environmental pollution. Motorcycles and tricycles, commonly known as Okada, hold significant potential as a more convenient, timely, safe, and cost-effective mode of transport. Currently, the Road Traffic Regulation of 2012, LI 2180, prohibits licensing motorcycles and tricycles for fare-paying passengers. As part of our government policy, the Ministry will amend the regulatory framework to regularize the use of motorcycles and tricycles for commercial passenger transport. In our ongoing effort to revitalize the whole airport, the government will facilitate the establishment of the state-of-the-art pilot training academy and a maintenance, repair, and overhaul facility. Will create significant employment opportunities. It will stimulate economic growth and bolster tourism in Ho and the surrounding communities. I have directed the airport company to release 10 acres of land at the Ho airport for this purpose. Mr. Speaker, with the completion of the Tema-Mpakadan rail line, the government will launch passenger services between Tema and Adome. We will also begin developing the necessary infrastructure on the Volta Lake to facilitate freight transport between Tema Port and Buipe as part of our Eastern Corridor multimodal transport system.
Papa, or see road tours enche ya deba near the abefu kwai eneba beje yenkwe asiantuma.
For the center to concentrate on research and development, consultancy services, and capacity building. Mr. Speaker, access to safe and reliable water that we all want. However, the water sector in Ghana faces considerable challenges, including illegal mining activities that contaminate fresh water sources, rendering them unsafe for drinking and agriculture. This alarming situation highlights the critical need for a decisive and ongoing effort to combat illegal mining to save our environment and our public health. Government will prioritize completing new and ongoing water projects to improve access to safe drinking water. This commitment should be good news for the people in the Keta, Adaklu, Wenchi, Sekendi Takrade, Asankragwa, Sehwiwioso, Dodoaso, Kweman, Damfa, Goso, Dwabeng, Aveime, and Edubamso. We'll also tackle critical water projects in Damango, Tamale, to potable water nationwide. Mr. Speaker, Ghana has a coastline that stretches approximately 550 kilometers. 2/3 of this coastline is threatened by tidal wave erosion, which impacts nearly 30% of Ghana's population. Rising sea levels have exacerbated vulnerabilities in coastal areas, leading to flooding, habitat loss, and community displacement. Consequently, coastal protection has emerged as a critical national priority. And so for the communities that are threatened by flood currently, we're going to prioritize building sea defense to be able to protect you. Flooding has become an all too frequent occurrence in many urban centers across the country, resulting in tragic loss of life, livelihood, and property. This scenario underscores the urgent need for sustainable solutions to address these pressing challenges. Many of our drainage systems are inadequate, They are worsened by careless waterway construction and obstruction and the relentless encroachment on wetlands and floodplains. To tackle these issues, we have to explore alternative sources of funding to support essential drainage works, desilting, flood control, and coastal protection. Mr. Speaker, the quality of decent homes. Our housing deficit is estimated at over 1.2 million units, and this has been the situation for many decades. High costs associated with land acquisition, construction material, and access to financing have made home ownership unattainable for many, primarily commitment to complete all ongoing housing initiatives, beginning with the Saglemi Affordable Housing Project. We'll also implement a low-cost social housing project supported by a district housing scheme. This project aims to remove the financial barriers. An area that is alarmingly equivalent to approximately 8,000 football fields has been completely destroyed. Mr. Speaker, the pollution levels in major rivers we're implementing a proactive approach that includes robust and impartial law enforcement, meaningful stakeholder engagement, and the creation of alternative livelihoods for our citizens involved in Galamsey. We're expanding the Minerals Commission regional offices to strengthen their regulatory oversight. We will establish a framework that categorizes mining activities into small, medium, and large scale, each with its tailored regulations. Mr. Speaker, we will establish a gold board, and we're in the process of doing it. Legislation will come to this House shortly. This gold board will ensure effective governance of the gold industry. At the same time, we wish to enhance transparency and efficiency while ensuring tenure of security in land administration. Climate change remains a pressing concern for Ghana and the global community. To meet our climate mitigation targets, Ghana has allocated 24 million metric tons of its carbon budget, totaling 64 million metric tons of carbon for authorization under Article 6 of the Paris Agreement. We've successfully authorized 3 projects which are poised to reduce 5.2 million tons of our carbon emissions. In line with our manifesto, we are committed to strengthening institutional and human capacity through necessary adaptation and mitigation measures to bolster resilience in critical sectors such as agriculture, forestry, energy, and water resources. We also pledge to align our national policies with international efforts to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees centigrade by 2050 and promote a fair and just transition to renewable energy sources. Mr. Speaker, we stand on the cusp of making history, the history of a country that prioritizes transparency and accountability as key elements of governance. During my campaign for president, I pledged, as captured by the NDC's 2024 manifesto, to take a strong stance against corruption. Mr. Speaker, we must end state capture. Mr. Speaker, we must end the purchase of state and public assets, such as land and other immovable assets, by members of the political class. Mr. Speaker, I pledge to fight corruption head-on by implementing Operation Recover All the Loot, oral. In that regard, Mr. Speaker, one of the first committees I established, even before my investiture as president, was to establish the oral committee on the sidelines of our transition. It is instructive to announce that the committee received over 2,000 complaints from the public and has since handed over a comprehensive report. This report has been given to the Attorney General for further review, thorough investigation, and eventual prosecutions. Mr. Speaker, the recent arrest related to the unwarranted payment of $2 million of Ghanaian taxpayers to regulate and restrict the sale of disposal of public lands and state assets. Mr. Speaker, as soon as the 2025 budget is approved, government will immediately take steps to reform the existing anti-corruption agencies by increasing funding and improving transparency and accountability. Mr. Speaker, Ghanaians voted largely and overwhelmingly and endorsed the NDC because we demonstrated a strong commitment and abhorrence for corruption. We pledged to fight corruption and implement far-reaching reforms that will eventually achieve a sustainable zero-tolerance policy against corruption. Mr. Speaker, the justice and legal sectors play pivotal roles in ensuring accountability and fostering the fair, equitable treatment of all our citizens by the state and its agencies. Delays and uncertainties have plagued justice delivery in Ghana, leading many Ghanaians to perceive a politicization of the judicial process. The public trust in the judiciary's independence is alarmingly low. We must work together to restore confidence in the judiciary. My government will uphold the judiciary's independence and work with the Judicial Council and services to depoliticize justice delivery and collaborate closely with the Chief Justice to combat corruption effectively. Mr. Speaker, in line with our manifesto promise to reform and expand legal education, we have developed a legal education reform bill ready to be presented to Cabinet for approval and laying before this August House Parliament. Mr. Speaker, on January 30th, 2025, I inaugurated the Constitution Review Committee to undertake a comprehensive review of our fundamental law and ensure that it reflects the hopes and aspirations of our citizens. The committee is composed of distinguished scholars, jurists, and professionals who have made significant contributions to our nation in both the public and private sectors. They will engage Ghanaians and consult with the relevant stakeholders and experts over the next 6 months. Their findings will ultimately be presented to the public for approval, followed by submission to Parliament for enactment into law, and referendums will be held where necessary. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to report that Ghana's internal security remains stable, despite developments primarily rooted in chieftaincy disputes. We firmly believe that even amidst conflict, it is essential for our citizens to coexist peacefully and seek amicable resolution to these disputes. We will initiate comprehensive reform across all security agencies to strengthen our national safety and security. One area that has garnered significant public scrutiny is the recruitment process within our security forces. Accusations of politicization, favoritism, protocol, and selectivity have been prevalent. Let me assure you that we are committed to changing that narrative and fostering a more transparent and equitable recruitment policy so that all our young people who wish to serve in these services have an opportunity to do so. We are dedicated to enhancing the capabilities of the Ghana Police Service, the Prison Service, the Ghana National Fire Service, the Immigration Service, and the Narcotics Control Commission, the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority, and all investigative bodies operating under the Ministry of Interior. By motivating and re-equipping these agencies, we aim to effectively maintain internal peace and security. Mr. Speaker, I want to reaffirm this government's unwavering commitment to prioritizing the welfare and well-being of our brave men and women in uniform who sacrifice daily to uphold law and order and secure our nation's peace. We will invest in adequate equipment and suitable accommodation for our security personnel. As Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, I want to emphasize our determination to strengthen our democracies. This is particularly true given the troubled proliferation of military-grade weapons that are falling into terrorist hands. These weapons pose a significant threat to our national security and our constitutional democracy. They endanger the safety of all Ghanaians and potentially exacerbate existing conflicts such as chieftaincy disputes, and in many cases fall into the hands of armed robbers. Since taking office, we have pursued a responsible approach to account for these unregistered weapons while maintaining stability within the security apparatus. I'm pleased to report that we've made substantial progress and are committed to ensuring that those responsible for this situation are brought to book. In our efforts to safeguard our citizens, Mr. Speaker, to safeguard our territory, to maintain our democracy, we remain vigilant against the threat of violent extremism and terrorism. Therefore, we are resolute in enhancing our defense mechanisms through diplomacy, counterintelligence, information sharing, infrastructure development, and the acquisition of appropriate technology. Achieving a stable and secure nation necessitates the motivation of our uniformed personnel. Currently, the Ghana Armed Forces faces a housing shortfall of over 17,000 units, and we recognize that the inadequate state of barrack accommodation needs to be addressed promptly. In addition to housing, we'll prioritize improvements to rations and fuel supplies for our security forces. Quality healthcare is another critical aspect of motivating our armed forces. As we work to expand and improve facilities at the 3rd Civil Military Hospital, complemented by the recently restored oxygen plant, we remain committed to finishing the delayed Afari Kumasi Military Hospital, which is still a top priority for my government. The goal is to complete and operationalize this facility before the end of this year. Mr. Speaker, like many other state institutions under the previous administration, the Ministry of Defense is burdened with approximately 3.7 billion cedis in debt, a figure that continues to grow as new and undisclosed debts are uncovered. However, the demands of our Army, Navy, and Air Force continue to rise, necessitating the need for modern platforms for effective operations. Despite these financial challenges, I am confident that the Ghana Armed Forces possesses the human resources necessary to revitalize the defense industry's holding corporation, which can support the government's efforts in this regard. DHOC, which was begun under the late President John Evans Atta Mills of blessed memory during my tenure as chair of the Armed Forces Council, is essential for fueling Ghana's industrialization drive, which is aligned with our 24-hour economy initiative. Although DHOC has expanded, it's yet to be fully optimized to deliver the returns needed for the Ghana Armed Forces and our nation. I've tasked the Minister for Defense with incorporating innovative and significant private sector participation into DHOC's operations to harness its considerable potential for economic growth. Mr. Speaker, Ghana's strong international reputation was reaffirmed by the historic participation of foreign leaders during the swearing-in of the President, myself, and Vice President Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman on January 7th, 2025. Mr. Speaker, it reflects the confidence our country's stability and democratic progress has engendered in the international community. Ghana remains committed to its Pan-Africanist ideals, non-alignment, democracy, and global cooperation, and the rule of multilateralism, embracing a policy of friends to all and enemies to none. We'll continue to cultivate diplomatic ties based on mutual respect and shared values. Mr. Speaker, Ghana is open for business. Our policy on economic diplomacy focuses on export diversification, foreign investment, and job creation. A new blueprint and delivery unit at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs with clear performance indicators will be launched soon to ensure foreign engagements yield tangible benefits for our people. Because of emerging security threats, especially on our borders, Ghana is committed to security initiatives, particularly in the Sahel region. We'll maintain a continuous engagement with our Sahelian neighbors and continue to work with them to resolve the difficult situation that they are confronted with. I've appointed a special envoy to help sustain diplomatic relations with our Sahelian neighbors, aiming to achieve their reintegration, if possible, back into our regional bloc. Mr. Speaker, we'll expand passport application centers nationwide to reduce processing times to 7 days. We wish that a passport will be delivered within 7 days from the date application is submitted. These comprehensive reports at the passport office is going to align with our vision of a 24-hour economy. The passport office is going to work 24 hours to process passports that have been applied for. Mr. Speaker, as we reset Ghana to serve Ghanaians better, government will also revamp the labor administration institutions in the country. We'll promote social dialogue and foster harmonious industrial relations among stakeholders. In the coming months, the National Tripartite Committee, led by the Sector Minister, will organize a national labor conference to discuss pertinent issues affecting labor and employers. The recommendations are expected to influence and shape government's policies and programs in this sector. Mr. Speaker, we will launch the Ghana Labor Export Program, which would allow Ghanaians to go abroad and work with countries that we have signed agreements in specialized areas like engineering, technology, welding, carpentry, masonry, and nursing, teaching, and so many and so forth. The government will maintain strict fiduciary responsibility for the operation of the National Pensions Regulatory Authority and the pension industry will be regulated. This is critical to safeguarding the growing pension fund assets. As part of measures to increase pension coverage in the informal sector, which currently stands at only 11%, the government will implement an informal sector pension inclusion initiative to increase participation in micro-pension schemes. Decentralization has been at the heart of our government system, yet key players in the process, such as assemblymen and women, often face neglect and inadequate compensation. Mr. Speaker, I did promise to pay modest allowance to our assemblymen and women, and I'm committed to keeping this promise. The Honorable Minister, when he presents the budget to this House, would have a provision for allowances for assembly members. Mr. Speaker, I have just unveiled the state of the nation as I came to meet it. I've also disclosed several measures that I intend to take to address the challenges we have inherited. Nonetheless, no matter how well-intentioned our efforts to reset our economy are, they will not yield the desired outcome without the support of the people of Ghana. And so to my dear countrymen and women, you have clearly and unmistakably expressed your displeasure with the poor governance and corruption that has existed in the past. Mr. Speaker, some of our compatriots did so even at the peril of their lives, just as our 28 February Crossroads shooting national heroes did in the Gold Coast. May all such martyrs of democracy, those who have died in the process of elections and in the process of just exercising their civil rights, may they rest peacefully in the bosom of the Lord. Mr. Speaker, we will, as I promised, investigate these deaths and we will provide appropriate compensation to the families of those who have died during the elections. My brothers and sisters, you gave me a compelling mandate that leaves no one in doubt about your expectations of me and my government. You embrace the vision to generate new and well-paying jobs through the 24-hour economy initiative. The arrogance of power that you so much abhor will be a thing of the past. I will enforce and demand the highest standards of performance from those I have chosen to work with me to improve the circumstances of our country. I'll publish a code of conduct that they will be strictly made to abide by. Mr. Speaker, it would be remiss of me if I didn't admit that the entire economic value chain is currently in the internal ICU, As I recall mentioning a few intensive care unit. As I recall mentioning a few years ago, when we were still in opposition, the economy is even worse than we had envisaged. But this gives us ample opportunity to be innovative in our efforts to resuscitate it. And so what are the key takeaways from me for the people of Ghana? 1, that we shall fight corruption effectively. 2, that we shall run a lean government of no more than 60 ministers. 3, that we shall realign the ministries, agencies, and departments to eliminate duplication. 4, that will introduce austerity, reduce wasteful expenditure and spending, and improving tax collection. 5, that we shall widen Ghana's tax nets, reform tax waivers, especially on investments, and return to our homegrown solutions. 6, that we will grow what we eat and reduce imports of food and goods that can easily be produced here in Ghana. Your voice and contributions will prove invaluable on this journey of national reset, and I encourage you to make your voices heard. I commit to the judicious use of your resources, eschewing waste and ostentation. We will always endeavor to make the most of the little we have. Of our scaled-down 68th independence anniversary. Mr. Speaker, it is said that there is strength in unity. Ghana's greatest strength lies in its people, its young and energetic youth. If we stand united, we can be more resilient and build together the power of collective action to overcome economic and social challenges. Every Ghanaian, regardless of political affiliation, background, or status, has a responsibility to play a key role in nation building and work towards a complete reset of our country. Mr. Speaker, let me assure you that we are leaving no one behind as we reset to rebuild the Ghana we want. We will rebuild a Ghana that works for all of us and not just a few. We shall live the dreams of our forebears in our lifetime. And so, my countrymen and women, where despair once existed, let hope radiate. And where the sun appeared to set on our bright prospects as a nation, let a new dawn of enthusiasm and renewal supplant it. So that when I come and stand here next year to present a message of the state of our nation, it will be one brimming with excitement and happiness. Mr. Speaker, I thank you very much for this opportunity. I thank honorable members for your kind attention. May God bless our homeland, Ghana. Thank you.
MS. Honorable members, Honorable members, to discipline the students.
Asem ensuso ekoye enono ane entize do nimina be no wi e woti say 24-hour economy twagu eso de dum so na bo chese parliament high menya de ketwa kra eno so enkoma ode baaye enono yo madika kenkan bia kyerwa sanse bi o ha na atekote basa na ya fa kyerɛ sɛ de na osika ensem no efari nyina de kan bi adown but yɛbɛsia akom de ho bia no yɛde eno so ɛbɛtoa so nti babia eno so yɛ dru yɛ baako a na yɛkɔ enim na babu ha na etwitwa na kyerɛ yɛde eno so abɛhyehyem ɛyɛ road sector hɔ na yɛdru yɛ na road sector no so no de na wɔka sɛ from 2008 so ɛbaayɛ or can drip equipment abanda de wotwa mumeche NPP aban no sa drip equipment ya omode buy obekaya sa omode buy no ai omuchem so ebeboa na afi sa bia nke betimi ayi akwan nyina ba ochem se na akwa se because of election nti ye beto aba nti omodi sisi miaye na nkofo e complain ya kwanyo se enyo ni nyina mo se eni no ne papa mu a on de beko no regional level na ye drew regional level na se bia betimi ayi akwan na bia ebekoye na hu sampa road maintenance nyina nso no etumi afa na ntuma pa efra afi bia minim de say a omo hyeda de a edu ho peme ne me wofa wofa Kojo Dixon edu ha ya na yetahia pa na wofa wofi ha ntia nchembeje ma wofa na afi wode de aka nso so atoa so na enkomo aka nyina no edi nyina nso so atoa so fefefe sans na wo ka bibi afa ho airport say and the state of the art academy betumi aboa na fiada tete amanfo pie o honoma bibia enso betumi afa ntuma pa efra o kan baby efa tama mpakadan na afi bupe enso so sabia rewe de nyina no so betumi afa ntuma pa efra sans na ese nei sade galam say atete apansam yensu no aye basa no de nyamianim titro ne illegal mining no na o chem se sabia yebenya nsu cover akwaba na unamboko de bia boko na mekasa afi bia menusia se ya na omrant no mo shedaw na ya omoye ne sade a
anio
afi bia o menusia se ya
na say Kojo to Kojo ntia
na me Kojo ene me Kojo
ya se Kojo po chire me
enu anu ofa
na Kojo Dixon
ofa so me na fa yakwe
yo baby wo ho no mo a na minim se ode be fa ho onyan kan kura na mse JDM ede be fa ho
okay
baby ti se road toast no so san ba no na mse kan in fact wa mo so aka be me nwanwa o se nanado ebetwem so be kaya
akwese mo akwata the minister at the time
be free ho no
yes
na wo mo ede sa yi levy no be wurawura mu wo rotos na otwa free ho no
na nso ankosi sa
na ankosi aga
oyi levy kura mo breast etwe so da awira wo parliament na wotna na
wotna na se enko
enko no se de
enti sesia no ndc aban no no opposition mu no na wonder the ten say football on that is a ball bo what bench ya na wonuanom wo park no so bo a na wo so wo hwe enti say coach no ayi wo ba say kobobia wo ba hunu say baby ana wo nua no etoto papa so no a no ntimi en strike ye no ya do kwa ya pe the assumption is that what bench ho no a wo hwe bie no ehunu say it was a big mistake say NPP aban no etwa rotos no mu na oko lusu sika wo ho
reverend na say pass through ni na no esizi
enti sesia JDM ese wakwa akofa ba no wo de ebegigi sika na wo so de aye akwan ba bia entokro de da aye friend say port host ni ade da ni na wo de ba besiesie enti wo say wo kan na ho yidin maye mo minority for na baso efie wo din enti wo there is that element of maturity
Just a man quines on flow.
So on flow.
We have a do a say Mr. Mensa instead of Mr. Speaker. No, I hope na hoye ka krem. Bo hoye nani.
Sa.
Aye.
E wo mu sa previously no na Speaker of Parliament. Ura Alambabin. No wadi kan atsem la so bedwafo no warning. Say sa heckling no wa obes ano no de. Enso kra no na omuda so ye kakra. But enedie ena dede no so ya no mo amta ko fa bapa ye minority for. So
yes offer.
Empe bebre no say omampanin na na ye wo ready you know.
Ampa
When they ready eti no ye expect so ono ane nkofo no ye abemu party no
President again says that he has delivered less ministers. But it is clear that his strategy is, if less, more divide. You have appointed few ministers, but more and more and more presidential staffers and more committees. Has any concerns, his duty is to fix it. The Vice, Mr. Speaker, has the President any budget? This is the budget he inherited, the revenues he inherited that he has used for this purpose. The same government is condemning. Mr. Speaker, he has today told us that we have 2.2 million Ghanaians unemployed. But what he has forgotten, Mr. Speaker, on the streets of Accra today, the youth of the country are saying that Mahama Bakun termination bebre. Mr. Speaker, we are happy to hear from the President that he is going to launch the Nkokon Kitinkiti. We are happy to hear this, but we are curious because only yesterday we heard of a confirm. Mr. Speaker, the president now feeding the children well. What he didn't say was that at the time he assumed office, the previous government had paid every single one of the caterers. What he failed to tell Ghanaians was that President John Adjei Kufuor, who is seated in this chamber, was the one who initiated the school feeding program. He did not acknowledge him. Mr. Speaker, the youth of the NDC besieged the headquarters of the NDC demanding for jobs. Where are the jobs? Mr. Speaker, Today, Mr. Speaker, today we are seeing the 184 or so filling this chamber, the 183, plus independent MPs who have caucused with the NDC. Today, this house is full. But, Mr. Speaker, Mr. President must know that the majority is frustrated. They don't come to the chamber because there are no jobs for them. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, when Akufo-Addo was here on his last sonar, Akufo-Addo had patience for Emmanuel Ama Kofi-Boa to speak. Mr. Speaker, there must be patience for the minority side. I cannot be limited, Mr. Speaker. Let me finish. Mr. Speaker, what we have heard today fails to acknowledge the strides made in the last 8 years. Mr. Speaker, the President failed to acknowledge that he came to meet a peaceful and a stable country. Mr. Speaker, the President failed to tell us that in spite of all the crisis, consistently, the Akufo-Addo government was able to increase wages. And the minimum we did was 11% as compared to his 10%.
Honorable Minority Leader,
Mr. Speaker, to conclude.
Your time is up.
Mr. Speaker, to conclude.
Honorable members, my attention has been drawn to the presence of more distinguished members. And I want to draw your attention to them. Honorable members, we have with us in the chamber Honorable Bernard Honorable members, we also have the National Chairman of the PNC, Mr. Asaki Samson Awingobit. And we have the PNC Vice Presidential candidate in the person of Joycelyn Akofa Doche. Honorable members, I now put the question. The motion has been moved and seconded. As many as are in favor of adjournment, say aye. As many as against, say no. I think the ayes have it. Honorable members, the ayes have it. The motion is adopted. The House is accordingly adjourned till Friday, 28 February 2025 at 10 o'clock in the forenoon. The House is adjourned.
Yama Omanfo, Yamon Tofa, Sanya, a minority woman leader, Ura, Alexander Fendomakins, do de Ebayano, John Ajukumkufo, what in the chip, no, I didn't say, and I no cranso, Panico for Otto.
I ought to.
And as well can school feeding as a nipple coffee school feeding, Eba Ganda Hano, and what Chihono. Kakama Quaka Bonidini,
Nakasa Papa and the Kofa you.
Mumbai, a mum, some crama.
What
you and said, oh, no, I say, oh, yesterday, a bad and quadano, Yammo Mudi, and a school from Quadano, Yammo Driani, you will Mudi, come. And so, what's the sort of free? Sir, why na ma, and with me a feed woman. Nanado, Yaban Bressanania. Near two school feed, caterers in every and swash at the one was so. That is a no, a boapayano no. And what she will buy ye way ministers, a dunkron. A dunkron way yeno, a man be no pet, and a wee woman.
What's your cabinet ministers, no?
Cabinet ministers and workano. Where you dunkron, and 19 cabinet ministers, be a no pen a frame. Na wonder who is saying, what shall I say? After no markets are canas mamma no, sir, I bohobio, ya mammy post me. And now, sir. Adam Asuma, Masuma Zakaka, or shad, and I didn't say earlier. No, Nimsa Amfa Cradi, the ministry position the white air channel. Snappa quest, oh, at any point in time, Biano, Midimu Miaba, now may change the name someone paying about published Najama who say officially, Sabia, is an auto, Mekoha, Najamatin was but I'm man, dear, Yamianim, who where I say, idea how. Camera no crowd tons. Less than Calcano. So now we're born to be crackers and Bianca defense. Aha, and health because we're a doctor, we're medical doctor, and an epapanso identify defense. Maybe I'm common for no quad Brimsa, what Nepa Patra Kunyasu 19 years. Of idea to be frank, earlier, the John Mahama acknowledges democracy are fun to my pay for him, and so I be said the transition core year will take over as the president. Or acknowledge that a year for no, and this for no, yes, I don't want to work want, and then the NP for the business and minorities also one can, and the one so a sample year debate kakra, and now one more air court woman more. I've been way. And so the answer quine so castle pay 60 ministers no including regional ministers no when you man and try dear so a nipa was swabegu presidency hono efenyam senka ministers no number 120 staffers no presidential staffer committees no and na just a job for the boys in the committee ade a church we enti wa swabegu mu saa de na akwakwa say bi won hu ni ministerial positions ni dia and then they find the form of committee enti minister presidential staffers no hono mo abomasi ya twom but earlier on so can say obae or her staffers no dodo a wakati down crowd with the numbers so and was wakati na kwa wakati me desi preko etina eno so eno no and wasaka bibi say wo baaye no wo yes na local bond betuatua and the energy sector ka da won so metuatua na wo ba so onye budget bia o it was so ma ewiase nyina hunu say na do budget no a wa ya to ho no eno na wudidi mu no dada no na ama wa ba betu bie no a wo de ye wo so di tuatua local bond no na energy sector no sa bond order aspect so ka ana meboa obi a ho kwan because say omo awie afi na omo kwa ne you say ko ho a asoja fo no be training. I think it's a step in the right direction. And Ghana other countries are adopted that same way. Russia crowd I said a discipline master crack me. Said a youth no. Yes. And yes, beer. So for to say, that's so for anybody to see a true as of the hour for me. Oh, I would just say, when you enter was in about time, yes, beer. Yeah, there's so that folk who once I will boss for Japan, no, be no, training unwardly. But where the homa so nantie bia
David
am ya kwotete ahwe bia so and onyo kwa so mo asum ne hu so obema enye du enti tese abekwa doctor for na nurse for ni fide gum ye adwuma kofo kwaja Ghana for trauma me ya nyina emma musesi ente dane a ye kwu anim
ofe ope ball pa obo ne de osise GF ministry no omo hwese budget de be ko tournament bia no omo nya ne clear sika se ne de ko anya fe na e bia ye ko bana fe ya ko tena ba bia buka wona me say me hu bi krom hada se ball ba ko ye be wie na ofa budget wona obi e kan de na we ye say na ho na sky train no so over the weekend the sky train your friend panifo mu kra $2 million no
Professor me yakunfi o mo fa
oluman
was say no crowd was say the hure empre dwaye
na de ba de
over 2000 waboaboa no ndo akoma abound e pani say won hwehwem na wo mo a e wo say ya chi wo mo no wo mo kwachi police fo kwachi wo mo so say ya boko aduo court nso fo mo ko gina dakam no ko bom ko adu wo mo so say wo mo ebedem nso wo mo so bedem na we crowd ano no eti
obi afekwa na ebe kompa
obi a wadi Ghana sika bia no
anu hu bom bia no emra no be bo ne se de sitie
waso obechi wo papa agi sika ni nyina na was
ene ne kure ne ani ehu
why o afa bi a politician wa abada da no
obi na
wo wi bia mamu ni ni sesia
na bi uni nyina se omuni ye
mu ndi
because bebre pass
se JDM so oba abaji mbuti ahwa mo ofa be kwa
bebre kum pass ofa so mo fanko bank bi o ai
ya nhwe na ya na ya kan sa no wa wonya ayi tasty tom bi di ye aduane no say ya 2.2 kg ni bia be kan no bia man titu mo na ya mututu ya di ye nkwan ni stew no enye se wo koto ya na watu no ahwe agun di aduane
dabi
ya hwe lady no o ma twetwe sika bi was 0556 638 794 we be ton the japade landed properties mi na from na wo sika bi da ba bi apase odi investment ya beboa pa enti fra number yi ubetimi a dina dade a 0256 886 167 ya monsha no so Macken's luggage utu kwanless nya Macken's anan ko for sro adamia mani ya gani VIP wonder
offer
akwantufo no abi na wo ya boss no apre we bi enembe hwe bag bi odi tu kwan
nkofo so de kasa ko ma
enti Macken's ya benti won huni
won be ku enu masisia
enti esra mo
ya na potomanto ba ko no fa atwam
o atwam trunk chop box ma
da kutu wo de ko he enya ko no
bi be ko college no afa chop box
ene suno na tete trunk yo fa se tie nie
sene sa
ada bi aden
ada upo afuo
na ba
students o mo e ba say afro
afuo
low price master enema mienu na di akotro ha price ndi e low na de no ne quality no so de ndi e high pa high quality low price eno na low price master wo de adwuma home appliances na mekansan home appliances bia low price masters wo mo bi ene dansoman enkan ha no wini ba showrooms debre free 0599 335 035 0599 335 035 and 0557 120 217. Angel Star reality show forms no 100 Ghana cedis sign na ebinum so mo pedu nti ebia san ba na wa be star no 50,000 Ghana cedis 500 million
na me fire ade no
ma sisum ya
de kama
akwatu no be
kuhira konsra ba famu ani
ti ba no na somje
so party say so na ya djuma no Angel Rock Mr ya du papa pebina no me na osusu tim sampa ene obedidi ase de suru nyina kama oba Angel FM flat top Accra on sabeka bi kuma ase Abrepo Junction Angel FM ho sunyane so Angel FM sanso na Takra de Angel FM cheers e wo Cape Coast udru adodo bia